The Naruto Storm series was an industry-changing phenomenon. Every anime game that came afterwards, in some way or another, has tried to be what Storm was. And yet, very few games even came close to it. But despite it being a fan favorite, the multiplayer side of Storm was never a focus for the development team. Any game can be competitive if there's a community that's willing to suffer through it, and trust me, there's a lot to suffer through when it comes to Storm 4. But before I start trashing the game, I want to highlight some of the good that this game is still doing nowadays. Particularly, I want to talk about a community that's keeping tournaments and the competitive scene alive, despite all the issues we're going to talk about today. It's the official Naruto Ultimate NInja Discord server, which covers all of the Ultimate Ninja franchise. Their primary goals include hosting competitive tournaments, educating beginners about the game, providing exclusive coverage of the Perfect Storm mod, and offering dedicated matchmaking channels. The majority of their members can be split into two categories, casual and competitive. In this server, they cater to both sides of the community in order to placate the rift that has been placed between these two factions. The unification of the Ultimate Ninja community has not only served to further the metagame of all Storm games, but also bestow new players with the knowledge needed to continuously improve and feel like they belong. If you want to join the server, there's a link down below. The head of this community, Q, has helped me put this video together. Thank you for all the tournament footage, and I've also had the help of a friend and professional Storm player, the same me who, I don't know, he has won a mere 13 ESL tournaments, you know, not a big deal. Every pro in the world knows the stuff that I'm gonna complain about. This isn't new. In fact, part of the rant is that this hasn't been fixed. It's been here since launch 5 years ago. And we're gonna start very simple. Let's just look at the tournament rules for an official ESL tournament. This is the amount of stuff that has to be banned from the game for it to kind of work in a competitive setting. Some of these rules kind of work like Smash. You change a couple of settings before you go into a match and there you go, you're playing a competitive game. But so many others are based on overpowered characters, on bugs and glitches that should have been fixed, and even restrictions on your playstyle. No other game in the entire world could get away with not fixing this stuff for this long and still have an active community. And I really think it's because we're all so hungry for a Naruto game that we'll just take whatever we can get. But let's dive deep into this, shall we? Team match, 3 rounds, random stage. So far, standard rules. You'd find this pretty much on any game tournament. Banned characters: Tayuya, Kaguya, Temari, Neji, S3, Adult Kakashi, Nagato, and Yugito. That's a big list. And they've all been banned pretty much since launch. Why? Because they're all busted in their own unique ways. Kakashi is the easiest one to explain. It's all about this. What the hell? Why am I blocking this attack? I am nowhere near that. Also, his assist, it hits twice whenever it feels like it, which means you can substitute out of it, but you can still get caught by the second hit. Neji is also all about the attacks. Usually you can chakra dash someone who's mashing the attack button. Not Neji though. Hitboxes, baby. His assist is pretty busted too. Nagato is insane. As a part of his normal combo, he throws some shuriken. Now, normally you can just chakra dash through shuriken, they're low priority projectiles, but because these are part of his normal combo, you can't, which can make him really annoying from long range, and on top of that, he can cancel that move, which gives him an infinite combo. Now, infinites are not uncommon in Storm 4, that's why the substitution gauge is there. But this infinite is also a substitution bait, so you barely have to try with Nagato. And finally, Kaguya. Kaguya puts you on the lava stage whenever she feels like it, and all of her attacks become unblockable. Yeah, it's that simple. Believe it or not, we are just getting started. And we're talking about tournaments here, where you can actually enforce the rules. If you just want to jump into ranked, there's nothing stopping other players from using this stuff. Next rule, Toby Bomb, Shisui, Darujutsu, Switch spam is not allowed. I absolutely hate rules like this. It's like you can play the characters, but you can't use part of their kit. And the reason why I hate it, it's because it's super hard to enforce. Whenever you ban any type of spam in a tournament, there's always a gray line. Your opponent might complain that you're spamming the move, but you only did it twice in a row. So it's super hard to enforce, it's super hard to find where the line is, and in my opinion, this is a bad tournament rule. In any game, not just Storm. The last Naruto, Super Rasengan Barrage, is a banned jutsu. Again, you can use the character, just can't use this jutsu. Dash cuts, guard type supports are not allowed. This one is insane. Storm 4 isn't a game where you pick a character plus 2 assists. Your assists are also active characters that you can swap to, which means every single character with a dash cut type assist is banned from the tournament. That's all the characters with this little icon. All of them completely banned because of their assist type. It means almost half the roster is gone at this point. Now, why are dash cuts banned? What's so bad about them? I'm glad you asked. Dash cut types are assists that block an incoming chakra dash, one of the most powerful tools to win neutral in the game. And that can be really annoying to deal with on its own, but at a high level, it is actually obnoxious because of a mechanic that in my opinion was not intentional. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do in Storm 4, but it's gonna require some explanation. In Storm 4, you can move around freely and hit X to jump. Now, after you jump, you have some landing recovery. See that landing animation? While you're doing that, your character can't do anything, you're vulnerable. There is a way to get rid of landing recovery, which is to hold the block button. So if you hold block while jumping, there won't be any landing recovery, you're ready to act. So far, it's simple. Jumping on its own is a really powerful tool in Storm because for how fast and good the chakra dash is, the tracking on it is actually pretty bad. So just by jumping around, you can dodge your opponent's dash. And if you're good, you can counterattack. The problem with jumping while holding block though is that you can only jump in place, because if you tilt the left thumbstick while blocking, this happens. You get a sidestep or a dodge. And here's where the unintentional mechanic comes in. If you're holding block and you tilt the left stick only slightly instead of the whole way, you'll actually be able to jump and move while blocking without a sidestep happening. So now you're dodging all of your opponent's chakra dashes while also blocking in case it just happens to hit you. Countering this playstyle is incredibly hard. Storm 4 is a game where time wasting or playing lame is actually very easy. Catching an opponent that's just doing this takes some skill, and you can get there, especially with assists and projectiles. You can lock them down and catch them, but you're usually taking a risk in doing so, and the player just jumping around can counter dash at you at any moment and punish your failed attempt. And this is why in a lot of pro matches, you'll just see both players jumping around. If on top of this very powerful technique, players also had access to dash cuts, you can see how much of a nightmare that would be. If you want to really try hard at Storm 4, you deal some damage and then you jump around for the rest of the match waiting for a timeout. It's not pretty, but it's playing the game the way it allows itself to be played. Believe it or not, we're still not done. Any glitches are not allowed. At first I didn't think much of this rule. It's very common in any tournament. It's basically a rule just to cover their ass for potential exploits they might not know about, but my god, I had no idea how easy it was to glitch this game. So if you have Sasuke, you do his ultimate, Yamaterasu, and switch to Kaguya. If you just do this, you get Kaguya's ultimate instead of Sasuke's, by the way, but that's fine. As you switch to Kaguya, change the stage and watch your opponent freak out. They fall to their knees, they go invisible, and oh, they turn to Sasuke. Also, they're completely stunned and phase out of your attacks until you break their armor. Now, this glitch doesn't give you a huge advantage, but this is an example of Storm not being able to handle a lot of actions at once. There are a lot of glitches like this. And I repeat, they have been in the game for 5 years now. But here's a glitch that would actually give you an advantage. There's an assist type that extends your combos by hitting the opponent back at you. That's the Rock Lee type right here. So if you start a combo with Rock Lee, switch to another character during Rock Lee's multi-hit, you'll see that Rock Lee is now darker because he's not the active character. But with Rock Lee still on stage, if you grab the opponent, when Rock Lee comes to hit him back, you'll see that he's still darker, which results in this. You are completely stunned, the opponent can just throw a free ultimate or whatever they want here, and the one thing you can do is call assists. Other than that, you are at their mercy. And that is basically why glitches are banned. All awakenings are only allowed to be used once per match. I actually like this rule a lot. You get one chance to power up, it's somehow faithful to the show, and makes you think of when to use your awakening. I actually wish there was a setting in game to play like this. Except for 6-Path Madara, this is not allowed to be used. Why? Good luck dealing with this. Man has no cooldown on his clones. Now, these are tournament rules, so they don't necessarily affect us. But the thing is, these rules exist for a reason, and it's because all of this stuff is kind of busted in this game. And that's ultimately what really puts me off playing Storm 4 multiplayer. It's not like the other games I play are perfect, but this is just too much. And it clearly comes from a developer who doesn't give a crap about the multiplayer side of their games. Storm games are primarily story games. They make the absolute best anime stories out there, no question. And the multiplayer is an afterthought. Otherwise, you wouldn't have all this broken stuff 5 years after release. On top of that, when I think Naruto and what it takes to be the best ninja in the world, even if it's in a video game, I think about timing your jutsu, planning around your opponent's offense, laying a trap and see if they fall straight into it. Not jump around and wait for a timeout. So if you've ever wondered why I don't play Storm on the channel, there you have it. It's not a game that I want to get good at because what it takes to be good doesn't seem fun to me. And also, I don't want to deal with that netcode. Storm has one of the worst netcodes I've ever seen in a multiplayer game. That said, there is a surprisingly large community that knows knows all of this and still powers through. Still dedicates their spare time to learning, improving, and playing competitive Storm 4, and that's what Sammy does on his streams every week. Man hasn't stopped grinding for 5 years. That's what Q does on his Discord, not only honing his own skills, but cultivating an entire community and raising the scene for everyone. And even I have an immense respect for Storm, even if I don't like playing it competitively. If you've ever played an anime game in the last 10 years or so, and you enjoyed it, chances are you have the Storm series to thank for. Storm constantly pushed anime games forward. It set a higher standard for graphics, storytelling, fan service, and that's also why we see a lot of arena fighters out there. There's definitely a downside. I'm not saying Storm started the arena fighters, but because of its success, it definitely popularized it. Storm and the Tenkaichi series. But without Storm, I genuinely believe that anime games wouldn't be as good as they are nowadays. And that is why, despite me thinking that Storm as a competitive game is absolute garbage, it's a game that I love, a game that I treasure, a game that for me is still one of the best games of all time. Big shout out to the Sammy for helping me out with this video and showing me the reason why all of these rules exist. You can check out his Twitch, the link is down below. And also thank you to Q for cultivating such an awesome community for all these years. You can find a link to the Ultimate Ninja Discord in the description as well. And hopefully with this video, I've helped that community grow, even if it was just a little bit. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku and I'll see you next time. Bye!